Hi, it's Katrina. My friend David is going to be helping me out with the voiceover today, so everyone give him a warm welcome.
Number 10. The demon Pazuzu. Pazuzu is thought to be one of the oldest demons in the world. He was an Assyrian Babylonian god who was respected from around 1000 BC to 1 BC. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, Pazuzu was famous as the son of the king of demons of the underworld, Hanbi, and brother to Humbaba, who was killed by the heroes. Pazuzu was considered a demon of the underworld, master of the winds, and bringer of famine during the dry season. In the rainy season, Pazuzu was responsible for causing brutal storms and sending plagues of locusts to devastate crops. He was a destructive demon, and yet he was also considered the only possible defense against the very forces he controlled. So, pretty double-edged sword. He created storms, but was the only one who could stop them. He sent a plague and was the only one to get rid of it. This was a fairly common belief when it came to demons in the ancient world prior to Christianity, and the Egyptians had similar thoughts. They recognized demons as bringers of destruction and also as salvations against it. Prayers were said in the name of Pazuzu as a way of satisfying the demon and stopping him from bringing calamity down on the people. These days, Pazuzu is likely the only demon from ancient Mesopotamia most people have heard of. He was depicted as the demon who possesses the little girl in the EXORCIST movie from 1973, and even though Pazuzu was directly linked to the forces of Christianity in the film, he was around long before the Christian devil ever took center stage as the primary force of evil in the world. Number 9. Archangel Gabriel. Archangel Gabriel is one of the most important of God's trusted messengers. He is the angel of revelation because in many religions God chooses Gabriel to communicate important messages or do the heavy lifting, in other words. He is also a guardian and protector, sometimes shown as a warrior angel with a sword, slaying beasts and demons. He is also one of the only angels that has a prominent place in every single Abrahamic religion. Gabriel revealed the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad, and he is mentioned in the book of Daniel, the New Testament, the Hebrew Bible, and the Jewish Talmud. Throughout several different faiths, Gabriel has the important task of announcing God's will to the most important of the prophets. He appears to Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, making him a symbol of God and a personification of his word. Gabriel is the angel who appears to the founders of the three main Abrahamic faiths: Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. In Christianity, Gabriel has a lot of important roles to play. He visits Mary to reveal that she will give birth to the Son of God, and in the book of Revelation, Gabriel is the angel who blows the horn to announce that Judgment Day has come. In modern Catholicism, Saint Gabriel the Archangel is the patron saint of communications and has a feast day on September 29th. Gabriel's story is different the further we stray from the source material. In the Latter-day Saint theology, Gabriel was a mortal who went under the name Noah. After Noah died, he was resurrected to become the angel Gabriel, meaning all of his children are considered to be angelic offspring. Number 8. Beelzebub. The world of demonology and Christianity is extremely complex. One of the biggest issues is the difference between what was originally written in the first versions of the Bible and all the adaptations that came after. Beelzebub is typically used as another name for Satan. However, in more recent demonology terms, Beelzebub is one of the 7 princes of hell. Surprisingly, most of the demons we are familiar with today were created over the past 2,000 years as extra characters to flesh out Christian lore. Almost all the most notorious Christian demons, from Belial to Asmodeus, did not appear in the Bible itself, but came from the history of other ancient civilizations. Beelzebub was originally a word that means Lord of the Flies, and in Hebrew literature the name can be translated to Lord of Filth or Lord of Dung. Beelzebub is depicted in ancient images as a fly or a bug, and scholars believe his name has likely lived on through the millennia as some sort of god related to dirty and filth. In Christian tradition, he is high up in the hierarchy of hell. 16th century occultist Johann Weyer believed that Beelzebub led a revolt against the devil and was the chief lieutenant of Lucifer. Johann Weyer was a very interesting figure who was a physician and demonologist. He was among one of the first people to publish works against the persecution of witches. Beelzebub is a false god in the Old Testament, the patron saint of the Philistine city of Ekron. He was most likely once the god Baal, but his name was transformed and ruined over the years, until much later in the New Testament, it was synonyms for Satan. Number 7. Angel of the Abyss. Abaddon is one of the only angels that makes an appearance in the New Testament. However, his mention is brief and can only be found in the book of Revelation. His name, which can also be pronounced Apollyon, translates roughly to destruction. And while you may have heard the name Abaddon associated with Satan, he is never represented as being the devil. He's the Lord of the Abyss and will be responsible for the plague of locusts that will terrorize humanity at the end of days. Depending on which religious scripture you're reading, Abaddon is very different. In the Hebrew Bible, he isn't an angel or a demon, but simply a name for a bottomless pit filled with the souls of the dead. In the book of Revelation, Abaddon is the leader of the army of locusts, an angel summoned by God after the fifth seal is opened and the fifth trumpet is blown. Abaddon is responsible for opening the pit, releasing the locusts, and allowing them to torment everyone on the planet who does not believe in God. These are no ordinary locusts either. They are described in Revelation as looking more like horses with human faces, teeth like a lion, long hair and the tail of a scorpion, with a poisonous stinger. These are terrifying creatures that will be some of the last things on Earth during the days of the apocalypse. What's interesting about Abaddon is that some say he's a demon while others say he's an angel, but the symbolism in Revelation is pretty clear. Abaddon, although his job might be horrible and he lives in a dark abyss, is indeed an angel of God and not of Satan. He's a representative of God whose job it is to help usher in the end of all things. Number 6. Astaroth. Astaroth in the world of demonology is one of the highest-ranking demons in hell. The unholy trinity, or the dukes of hell, are composed of Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Astaroth. If we go back to the New Testament, we won't find any mention of this vague and obscure demon. Many historians believe Astaroth came from the Phoenician goddess Astarte, who was worshipped as the goddess of love, war, and justice. Her worship was likely quite strong in the days of the Canaanite people, when the first chapters of the Old Testament were written. It's only in the Hebrew Bible that a place called Ashtaroth Karnaim is mentioned. Just like the city of Athens was named after the goddess Athena, the ancient city of Ashtaroth was likely named after the goddess Astarte. In the Hebrew Bible, the city was the location of a great battle between King Kedorlaomer and the Rephaim, and in the book of Judges there's a passage discussing how the Hebrew people were putting aside their Baals and Ashtaroths, or in other words, discarding their foreign gods. It was from these old passages and the ancient history of Phoenicia that Astaroth was adopted into demonology in the 16th century. He first appeared in the False Monarchy of Demons published in 1577, working alongside Lucifer and Beelzebub to rule over the dominion of hell. Number 5. Archangel Raphael. Archangel Raphael is arguably the most benevolent of all of God's angels. He is the angel of healing, a being of pure compassion for those who struggle with physical and mental issues, and even those troubled emotionally and spiritually. Raphael's duty is to bring people closer to God and to heal their wounds. In the world of addictions, Raphael is the singular angel that people pray to for guidance and help out of their despair. In ancient religious texts, Raphael is mostly depicted as a healer. In the book of Tobit, an official part of the Bible, he restores sight to the blind, heals people spiritually and emotionally, and drives away a demon of lust after it torments a woman named Sarah. And in Islamic tradition, Raphael is also the master of music who sings his praise of God in over 1,000 languages. Often in artworks, Raphael is depicted holding either a staff, which represents healing, or an emblem known as a Caduceus that symbolizes the medical profession. There are also times where the archangel is illustrated with a fish, which refers to a biblical story where he uses a part of the marine animal to cure a man's blindness. In the book of Enoch, which was not an official part of the Bible, Archangel Raphael is tasked with healing the world after the fallen angels corrupted it by procreating with human women. Anywhere that he's mentioned, he's described as the healer of Earth's evil and afflictions. Number 4. Gabriel. Just like how some demons were created after the original Bible, there are some angels who appear not in the canonical scripture, but in myth and in the forbidden books. In the non-canonical biblical text, the Book of Enoch, the angel Gabriel is mentioned. The angel's name doesn't come up anywhere in the official Bible, only in these fringe texts. One of the biggest themes of the Book of Enoch is demonology and the origin of the Nephilim, which are first mentioned in Genesis. According to the Book of Enoch, Gabriel was one of the 200 Grigori, or the angelic watchers, who fought alongside Satan during the rebellion against God. Gabriel was one of the leaders of these rebellious angels, and was among the first to enter into intimate relations with human women. That made Gabriel one of the first fathers of the Nephilim, the abominable giants who lived during the antediluvian times. The Nephilim were so abhorrent that God was forced to wipe the earth clean with his great flood. Number 3. Adramelech. In the Book of Kings, Adramelech is mentioned only briefly as a Semitic god. He was worshipped by the citizens of Sepharvaim, a city captured by Sargon II, king of Assyria. In the Bible, the people of this Assyrian city are described as heathens, worshippers of the false god to whom they gave great blood sacrifices. They burned their children alive as glorious offerings to Adramelech, their barbarian deity. However, Adramelech was only one pagan god, as there were many others worshipped by the people of Mesopotamia. He has been closely associated with another terrifying entity from Mesopotamia called Baal, which was also a horrifying god who demanded children for his sacrifices. As the years went by, both Baal and Adramelech transformed from being powerful gods worshipped by the Mesopotamians to being demons in hell. Adramelech is a demon in many Christian traditions, a fallen angel beside the likes of Asmodeus, who was ultimately vanquished by the archangels Uriel and Raphael. In more obscure modern demonology, Adramelech has been downgraded all the way to supervisor of Satan's wardrobe. He's usually seen in artwork as a creature with the head of a donkey, the torso of a human, and the tail of a peacock. Number 2. Choronzon. Choronzon is one of the strangest demons you've most likely never heard of. This demonic monster did not take form until the 16th century, created by the insane occultists John Dee and Edward Kelly. Dee claimed that all of his mystical knowledge was given to him by angels who revealed themselves in a vision. He is also credited as being the creator of Enochian magic. Dee was an important figure in the 16th century. He was not only a mathematician and astronomer, but also an alchemist and a firm believer in the occult. He was the advisor to Elizabeth I and spent the majority of his time researching ancient magical texts and dabbling in divination. Choronzon, the chaos demon, was originally mentioned in one of Dee's mad scribblings. However, Choronzon wouldn't become a truly frightening force of evil until Aleister Crowley in the 20th century. As you may already know, Crowley was considered the worst man on earth at that time, as he was busy founding the highly controversial Thelma religion. Crowley made huge waves in England up until his death in 1947 and is famous for his wacky attempts at summoning demons and trying to bring the devil out of hell. One of his favorite demons was Choronzon, the Dweller of the Abyss. The demon was said to be the last thing standing between a person and their enlightenment. The only way for a Thelemite to reach enlightenment was to fight through the chaos of Choronzon's abyss and come out unscathed on the other side. Crowley supposedly tried to summon Choronzon in Algeria in December of 1909. Number 1. The Angel of Peace. Shamuel is known as the Angel of Peace. He's traditionally connected to the unconditional love of God, the search for inner peace and conflict resolution. He's also the angel of romantic love and is typically sought by those looking to come to terms with their own relationships in life. In traditional Christian art, Archangel Shamuel is generally depicted with heart symbols. In the religious texts, Shamuel is nowhere to be found. He isn't mentioned by name in a single major religious text in either the Jewish or Christian traditions, and yet both of these faiths have identified him as carrying out major missions for God. He was the angel who comforted Adam and Eve after the angel Jophiel kicked them out of the Garden of Eden, and Shamuel also comforted Jesus Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane before the crucifixion. The only place Shamuel seems to be mentioned by name is in the Kabbalah, the esoteric school of Jewish mysticism. In the Kabbalah, Shamuel is one of 10 angels of God, but how he made his way into popular Christian culture is something of a mystery. What's your take on the history of angels and demons? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.